I want you to tell me about this picture and
Okay.
what's going on
Well,
here.
transition. This is another thing that's like slightly annoying too. Is
Oh no, I
so
thought this
this
would be
is
fun.
yeah okay. So this is another slightly annoying thing because Madison Bumgarner threw a no hitter in 7 innings because he was playing in a doubleheader, and the doubleheaders this year are in 7 inning games. And because it was a 7 inning game, baseball is not counting as no hitter in the official like.
Okay.
Yeah, see the look you just gave me is another reason, Dylan. We're at another impasse where I go, "What are you doing in NBA or at Major League Baseball? Like, stop." You could
S-
put an asterisk by it in the record books. That's fine. Be like, "This was obtained by a 7th inning game," but give him the freaking thing. He threw a no hitter. What do you want him to do? You're the one that scheduled it. You're the one that made the rule that it's 7 innings. He went out there, pitched 7 great innings on no hit baseball, and it's not going to count in the record books.
So in my dumb ape brain, once again, just relate things to the NFL that's happening, but it just also happens to be timely, is that like now that they're going to a 17 game season, obviously all those records are going to be asterisked or whatever you want to say.
Inflated, yeah.
So do you like, yeah, this is another question, like when do you count the record? Does it stay the same? Do you put an asterisk next to it for everything? Do you put asterisks next to everything beforehand because it was a 16 game season? Like
Well,
it's a
you just
slippery slope for sure.
well, so as far as the records go, you just basically like it's the end of the 16 game era. So then you pull up now we're in the 17 game era where the records can still be the records, but like yeah, it has a little asterisk next to it, like so if it ends up being one of those where somebody breaks the passing touchdowns in a season record, well you can there's going to be a slight asterisk underneath it as hey, this occurred in the 17 game era, or whatever. So that's how that's going to go. But and then it's the same thing for this. Why wouldn't they just put it in the rule books as hey, he pitched a no hitter, and then put a little asterisk next to it that says it was a 7 game doubleheader, or whatever, and nobody's going to care
Comparing him
because he
to
would have another no hitter
CJ.
under his belt that he can talk about for the rest of his life. Now he threw a no hitter, but it's not in the record books. He can't point to it. It was technically deemed like an unofficial. That doesn't count in
Yeah,
the
what
record
was it
books.
counted as?
Usually,
That's what my question was.
it just kind of it's like a complete game. Like he pitched a good complete game, but it's not even a complete game because it's 7 innings. So they're not gonna. They basically what they're saying is that basically what they did is they said, "Hey, great job pitching today. I know that you probably would have pitched really well for the following 2 innings, and maybe even no hit for the next 2 innings. But we're just gonna cut it there. And also, by the way, great job. But you're not gonna get like any records. It wasn't a complete game. Like you have to pitch a complete no hitter to get the no hitter." And then he's like, "Well, but you guys said that it was a 7 game. Say, yeah, but like."
It was
You're
like
fine,
it was like
right?
a really, really good game. And they're like, yeah, it was like a perfect game.
Yeah.
He's like, well, no, not technically. It'd have to be 9 innings to be a perfect game. You're like,
Yeah, or
okay.
no hitter, yeah.
So what I gathered
I
from
just
this is like baseball is just filled, and I've also gathered this from my stats class and anything with data science. Like baseball is just filled with a bunch of stat nerds who have nothing else better to do than just literally crunch numbers in Excel and then figure out shit like this because that's crazy. This stuff
well,
comes up all the time.
and like I said last time, like it just they do such a terrible job of advertising like the actual skill that goes into these games. Like you don't understand. Like I watched there's a sports science from years ago when they were doing like the sports sciences where they actually talked about how fast a baseball comes in and how much time actually elapses like before the hitter hits the ball and how long he has to judge it. Like that's the type of stuff that should be talked about now. Like that's the stuff that you should put out there. Like when, you know, um which actually you could put him on this, put the next one on the screen now. Otani, who we're about to talk about. When Otani throws a 98 miles per hour fastball, it would be awesome to see like a quick little clip on your Twitter feed that's like, like a slowed down version of the ball, and it says like, it says like the speed that it left his hand, and then it says like the time that it takes to get to the batter, and you see the ball blow by the batter, and then it says like zero point 0.4 seconds of time it took. Like that's the type of stuff that needs to be seen in order for people to understand how difficult it is to not only hit the ball in baseball, but to also pitch, to also catch, the ball coming from the outfield, catch a line drive. I mean, like, people make incredible catches all the time in baseball as far as like line drives, and hits and stuff like that. And they don't like, it doesn't really get talked about as much of an achievement, even though it's incredibly difficult. And the reaction time that you have to have in order to make that catch, in the hot corner at third base or at shortstop is incredible. And they just don't talk about it because it's not one of those things that gets talked about by baseball. But baseball should put these things out there. They should show, when a guy blasts a 430-foot home run, they should have like on an almost, again, when you watch an NFL clip, like sometimes they'll show like how high he jumped or how fast he ran on this
I know
touchdown run.
specifically the commercial that I'm thinking of in my head when you're talking about this, like for the NFL.
Yes.
Like where it's like showing, there's like a diagram of where it's going to go, where he's going, how fast he has to go, what's the acceleration to get down the field and do that. Like exactly what you're talking about does exist for the NFL, and like they're on commercials all the time. Like I'm sure you could think of it.
And they do it for the NBA too, when they talk about how like, this is how far Steph Curry has to run on the court, or how far he runs. Because Steph Curry, if you look at it, the statistic is like that Steph Curry runs around on the court the most of any player like in the league, which again is an incredible achievement. And when you actually see the number of how many miles he's run in a season, it's absurd. And you go, oh my God, I can't believe he ran that far. But again, that's a number that goes, wow, that shows you how great these athletes are in the NBA. That type of stuff does not happen in Major League Baseball. You don't see that stuff. He just goes, wow, look at this 99 miles per hour fastball. And you're like, great, I've seen like 100 of those a season. So
or
like,
the Luke
what
Kuechly
am I?
commercial? Remember that? The one where he's like on the sideline. Or no, I'm sorry, not Luke Kuechly, Christian McCaffrey, where it's like he has to get through this many people or whatever, and then this is how
Yes,
fast
and they show the
he has to do it.
probability.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
they could show, like they could do that for like a slider or something, or like a curveball, and show like, here's the probability of this batter actually being able to hit this curveball, in how fast it's coming in the break that's on it, and the amount of time he has to adjust to it and everything. And then end the clip with him blasting a home run off of this amazing curveball. And you go, wow, I can't believe how hard that actually was to hit that. Like, it's just, that's what I don't understand why they don't do that in baseball. It's so annoying. And I love baseball to death. I'll watch it, I watch it all the time. I love going into games. I'm passionately talking about it because it's a sport that I love, and I love all the ins and outs of it and everything like that. And it's just to be able to watch them basically do the absolute worst possible job in advertising is ridiculous. So, yes, and thank you for the shout out there.
Yeah.
Um,
More ranting about
definitely,
baseball.
yeah. I was just jumping right into a fantastic rant about baseball and how annoyed I am with just their advertising and everything. It's just so bad. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense why they do what they do. They don't show, like, people don't understand how hard it is to hit 100 miles per hour fastball. Like, you see 100 miles per hour fastball pop on your Twitter feed and you go, great, I've seen 10 of these. Like, I see them all the time, on there. Show me why it's actually important, why I should care about why the ball's coming in. Like, show the amount of time that it takes for a 100 miles per hour fastball to get there and how short of a time that is. And then how much time it takes, like, your recognition of, the batter's recognition of the ball, and how much time they actually have to decide when to hit it. And I guarantee you're going to get a lot more people going, wow, baseball is actually hard. And what these players are doing is crazy. And instead people just make jokes about how, like, oh, baseball players get to sit on a bench for half the game. And it's like, okay, well, that's not entirely true. Like, it's just, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into being a baseball player that they don't show.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you were talking. I didn't even think about that, but you're talking about like maybe like response times or something, or like someone gets blasted and the shortstop like grabs the ball straight out of the air or whatever
Yeah,
because it's blasted at him. Like, how fast do they have to react to that? How fast was it coming off of the bat itself and from the pitcher and everything?
like they could do that. They could do the sports science of, or they could do like those clips, like you see with players, like I said, when the guy jumps and how much force he's generating and stuff like that in the NBA and in NFL. They could do that for, like, when Javi Baez runs down a grounder, turns, jumps, and throws the ball across his body on a line drive to the first baseman for a great out. Yeah, the play looks flashy and looks cool, but you see it all the time. Show the actual science behind it. Show how hard he actually had to throw it. Show how much torque he had to generate in his body to actually get that ball there to first base, and how quick his reaction time was in tracking the ball, how he was able to track the ball and then immediately throw. Like, show this type of stuff, and I guarantee people are going to start going, "Wow, baseball is actually hard." Like,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
honest question of what is the MLB's like marketing department like focusing on? Like I
it's
can
just
tell you everyone
nothing.
else, every other major sports league, like what they're trying to do right now. I don't know what they're trying to do at all, except like maintain. And that's it.
No, and they don't show they don't like advertise their like best athletes as well as they should. Like, for example, how much do you know about Otani,
I've
who's on the screen?
literally never heard his name before now.
See, and that's amazing because people are literally calling him the next Babe Ruth. Like, that's how good of a player he is, and you don't know anything about him, even though
Well,
you're a
a good
baseball fan.
example of that too is that I never had, I could not tell you like if I was shot by Mike Trout what his face was until I had to like Google him randomly because of that
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, those are the best players in baseball. Like, it's just like, why is Otani not on like ESPN doing interviews on like, talk, like, why is he not being talked about better? Like, yeah, in the sports world and in baseball world, he's talked about because of how great of a year he's having. But like, I just, again, show your best athletes, especially him being a foreign player. That also plays to the fact that, the diversity that you have in your league. Like, and you can advertise that. Like, I just don't understand where their advertising department is.